Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is a podcast where I get people into bed with me and we talk about fun stuff. We talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships, or lack thereof. We're happy to be part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. It's my 35th episode, and I interviewed LA comedian Nate Weatherup. We talked about ADHD, technology addictions, never dreaming, traveling, and how texting affects relationships. Nate will be at the Hollywood Improv on November 10th at HaHa Comedy in North Hollywood on November 16th. You can follow Nate on Twitter at Nate Weatherup, NateWeatherup, or on Instagram at nweatherup, and check out his website, nateweatherup.com. You can also catch me on November 17th at the Laugh Factory Chicago for Crossbeat Comedy. Sleeping with Sarah is brought to you by Audible.com. You can go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week, I'd like to recommend A Life in Parts by Bryan Cranston. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. Please remember to rate and review on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Find out more on the website, sleepingwithsarah.com. I know, I'm amazed that wasn't owned by a porn site either. Or follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Well, let's get started with the show. Yeah.
It'd just be comedian Nate.
Comedian.
That guy.
Nate the comedian.
Yeah.
Another one of those people on Facebook that's like their name is blank,
Yeah,
the comedian.
the comedian.
We know too many of those people.
So many.
How'd you sleep last night, Nate?
I slept very drunkenly last night. I went out, and every time I come back to Chicago, I forget that I can't drink with you people anymore.
With you people?
You guys are so good at drinking in Chicago. And I was part of it, and then I left.
And you moved to a town, by the way, LA, one of the things I don't like about LA, all the bars close at 2. There's not even an option for a 4 a.m. bar.
Exactly, and that's...
Like, why?
I feel like because it's a town that's so known for drugs and overdosing and, DUIs that they're like, no, go home. It's literally just, a city curfew versus here where they're like, no, it's cold, we get it, keep going. You need to keep drinking.
But the thing is, I've even, been outside of a bar and talked for an hour just because it's so nice out. I don't care. I will stand outside and talk, until 3 a.m. and then go home.
Yeah.
But then you don't have anything to have in your hand while you're talking.
Right, which is why I actually don't do that. Once it's closed, people are like, yeah, we're going to hang out. I'm like, I'm going to go home where I have more drinking to do.
Well, the thing is, I don't have a home where I can go drink. I'm like, I don't live there.
Oh,
so.
Right. I'm like, we're in it.
Yes, I have a home that I could drink here in Chicago, but not in LA, yet.
Yeah.
But you said you usually have trouble sleeping?
Yeah, I'm terrible at it.
Yeah?
I've never been good at it. I can't nap.
You can't?
I can't nap. And if I do, I nap 3 times a year.
What?
Yeah.
It's like some people are like, I cry 3 times a year. That's it. When the Cubs go to the World Series.
Yeah. When I actually get so tired that I'm like, I'm going to go take a nap right now, it's an uncomfortable. I'm like, am I okay? Am I about to get sick? And then most people, they'll go nap. They'll just conk out for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Get up, feel refreshed. I will fall asleep for 2.5 hours and then wake up feeling more tired than I was beforehand.
Wow. That is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what so you don't nap at all.
No, I'm a super anxious person. So I'm just constantly my brain doesn't stop, and I'm very ADHD. So it's just bouncing around. So it's really hard to get it to settle down. And once it finally does, it's like, well, if we stop, so we're just going to stop forever.
See, I'm like that in a different way. My brain doesn't stop because I go straight to REM when I sleep. So my brain, that's one of my weird things. I think because I'm in REM, my brain doesn't stop. I'm exhausted when I wake up. So,
okay, yeah. I can see that.
So, but I understand what that is. You have these ideas. Sometimes it'll be I'll be writing in a notebook, having a furious idea, and then fall asleep, and then I can see the notes kind of scrape off
the
page.
I'll do that. Honestly, I will get. I'll start playing a game on my phone, like a bubble bust game, where you just shoot at the bubbles, and then I'll be laying in bed, and I'll just be playing it in my mind. Or Tetris. I will lay there and I will watch the Tetris things falling and just trying to place them, and you never get the long skinny, which is bullshit.
I know.
Even in your dreams.
They didn't have... Wait, even in your dream you don't get the long and skinny? in your dream, you should be getting to, like, the kill screen of Donkey Kong, you
Right,
know? I mean,
know
you
that.
can't be...
But no, even my subconscious is like, you just don't get what you want.
Man! I don't know. Yeah, I think dreams are interesting. Like, I mean, you don't always get what you want in a dream.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I also almost never dream. Like, I know I do.
You just don't
but
remember
I don't
them.
ever remember my dreams. To the point where when I do, it's weird. Where I'm like, oh, wow, I had a dream last night.
Like, and what is it? Just something ordinary, or...
Oh, no, it's normally it's something horrible. Like, we're just, like, a really sad, like an adult nightmare where it's like, I wasn't afraid, like, that something was killing me. I just felt like I was a failure. Like, those are the kind of dreams I have. Which,
no.
Which is why I feel like maybe I have a lot of them, and that's why I don't remember them, that's just my brain being, like, protecting me from my own subconscious.
I'll be
like,
like,
you don't
hey.
need to remember that.
Yeah, don't remember that stuff. That's weird, man. So you don't... Is it like you dream 3 times a year, too? So you only dream when you nap?
Oh, I will remember a dream every couple of years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Do you dream in color or black and white?
No idea.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, it's not great. It's probably not healthy. You know?
But do you fantasize during the day? Like, do you, like, daydream at all?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then I think
I've never thought about it as daydreaming, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably good enough. Like, if you can just... I think that kind of does something. I don't know what, but there's a reason we can do it, right?
Yeah. See, and that's the thing, is, like, I'll like, if I'm having a busy day and I know I, like, have a show that night, like, I'll go home and I'll play solitaire on my iPad or something like that.
Solitaire?
Yeah,
you
just
still
something...
have that?
Oh, absolutely. Just a mindless game like that, like something that there's no end game to it, so you're not trying to reach a level, and I just kind of zone out.
It's not gonna frustrate you if you don't beat that level. It's not like Zelda,
right? Or if like you lose a game, then you just play another game, and then I'll just play that for 20 minutes, and I feel like that's kind of my way of just like resting, where I can do something that there's a pattern to it. So
it's like your brain kind of shuts off, and rests.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I think if I'm doing anything that's like, I almost always have to be doing 2 things at once. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. So if I'm watching TV, I have to be doing something else, active or writing or doing something. Because if I'm just doing one thing, the chances of me falling asleep are kind of high.
Okay.
So if I'm just sitting down and reading. But if I'm sitting and reading and I'm on the train and I'm listening to music on my phone, is a less likely chance of me.
Yeah, I get that. Okay.
But, like, if I'm just sitting and watching it... And, like, TV's different, I think, because I'm now watching it for research more than anything else.
Yeah.
So...
I'll actually... And that's the thing, is, like, because with me, like, the whole ADHD thing, I'll turn on a show that I want to watch because I'm trying to, like, take notes. And
do you take notes on shows?
So I will, but, like, a lot of times I'll start to do that, and then I'll remember this other thing I had to do, and I'll grab my iPad to, like, write an email, and then all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, I'm playing solitaire. Crap, I'm not even paying attention. I have no idea, and I have to go back and start over.
Do you ever feel like you're addicted to technology?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am 100%, like...
I feel like it's so bad, and I used to go on trips. I still want to, but, like, I used to go on these trips where I go out of the country, like, every other year for, like, 3 weeks by myself, and I would just make sure I'd have something so I could contact people, but I wouldn't carry it with me everywhere. So it would be my way of just, like, shutting off.
Yeah.
And I haven't done that in a couple years, and I'm like, oh, that was kind of my reason. Whole reason of travel out of the country is so people don't have to get a hold of you. They're like, oh yeah, she's in China. We're not going to try to call her. You know?
I have friends, like, when they'll be over in Europe on a trip, and they're just, like, posting stuff to Instagram and all that, and I go...
Why?
I feel like, when I go overseas, it's actually an excuse where I don't get an international plan. I just go, nope.
Oh, yeah, that's the same thing.
I'll send pictures when I get back.
I mean, I might like FaceTime my parents on my iPad at the hotel, maybe, you know?
Yeah, sure.
But that's about it.
I actually, I realized I had a problem when I was in grad school, and I was a teacher.
Oh,
I have a master's degree.
A master's in teaching?
Education, yeah.
Is there a specific focus? What do you teach?
English ed.
Oh.
High school English.
Nice.
I was doing this research trip in Morocco, and I didn't have my phone or anything. I started getting phantom buzzes on my hip, because this is my phone pocket. It is always here, and the entire trip, I was there 2 weeks, and you'd think eventually you just get over it, but every single day, like, I would brush against a table or something, I'm like, oh, No, I don't even have a phone there.
Whoa.
That's how addicted I got.
How is Morocco?
Morocco is the greatest place in the world.
I want to go to Morocco so bad.
It's incredible.
I love to travel, and there's so many places on my list, but I've got favorites. I love Italy is one of my favorites. Yeah, usually we lay down, but it is late, and I am a little bit worried of actually falling asleep.
I actually almost texted you on the way over here. I'm like, is actually falling asleep acceptable?
No, I mean, it's never happened before, but oddly enough, this is not the latest I've started a podcast, but it just, I think I interviewed somebody else, after a Laugh Arty show, so the podcast didn't start till midnight, but I was like, it's I don't care. Yeah. It's just but tonight I was up for work this morning, and so I'm like, usually we do the podcast laying down like this.
I mean, we can try it.
We can try. But if we start to get tired, we will sit up.
Oh, and you got the
yeah, I've got a very comfortable bed.
It was good seeing you guys. But back to your point about travel, you absolutely have to go to Morocco.
Okay.
Because here's the thing that nobody knows. It is in the northwest corner of Africa, directly south of Spain.
See, I haven't been to Spain yet either.
Okay. So, where it's located, you have a ton of Middle Eastern influence from the east. You have a ton of African influence from the south, and you have a ton of European influence from the north.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's just this amazing conglomerate of all of these disparate cultures just blended together. And it's an Islamic country, but it is pretty much the most progressive in the world because it's just connected. And it's awesome. You go there and you see these amazing mosques, and then you turn a corner and you see this incredible church, and then you go somewhere else and you just see every different culture coming together.
That's so cool.
And actually coexisting.
See,
it's like the lowest crime rate.
Really?
Yeah. It's
I do want to go there. That's the reason why also, not anytime soon, but eventually I'd like to go to Turkey because that has Eastern and Western influence pretty equally. So that's why I was always fascinated. Also, I constantly am that's a weird thing I do is I will look at cheap flights to weird places.
Right.
And there used to always be round trip flights from Chicago to Turkey for $500. And
really?
Yeah, this is 2 years ago. And I was looking and I remember I was hooking up with this guy at the time and I wasn't dating him or anything. We were just whatever. But I was I was looking at flights. I was like, damn. 500 round trip to Morocco, and he's like, "You want to go to Morocco?" I was like, "I don't like it that much." But no, that sounds really mean. No, I mean he was fine. I'm an asshole.
I mean, it adds up. Yeah.
But no,
it's an investment.
It is that's why most of the time when I travel internationally, I usually travel by myself because that's a long time. I usually go for 2 or 3 weeks. You have to really like someone.
Oh, yeah.
Or to get someone, because the thing I like about traveling is I get to do what I want when I want and not have to answer to anybody.
Yeah, no, I used to, for 8 years in high school and college, I was a singer and I toured with groups.
Wait, you were a singer?
Yeah, I was a little choir boy. And I was in groups and we would tour around the country. I went to the British Isles and Ireland once to sing.
And how old were you?
From freshman year of high school through college.
I sang in choirs when I was in middle school.
Okay, yeah.
We didn't go overseas. I did get to sing in New York once.
Oh, nice, yeah. But the thing is, you go on these tours and they're 2-3 weeks sometimes, and it's you're best friends. Especially in college, it's these were my guys. It was a frat that sang. But you get on the road with somebody, and you get to that end of that first week, and you're like, man, a lot of you annoy me. You get halfway through that second week, and you're like, if that guy talks again, I will shoot him in the face.
Yeah.
You really have to care about people when you travel with them, because it gets bad.
I think that's with anything. Oh gosh, I remember in relationships, when you first go on that trip together, a week-long trip or a 2-week-long trip or something, you're like, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
It's either going to work or it's not, or...
Yeah, my mom's even told me, she's like, you don't know if you really love somebody until you spend at least 4 hours in the car with them. That's when you go, all right, we can make this work.
So my ex, the first time, we had been dating 9 months or something, and the first time I meet his family, we are going on a week-long trip with them to Hilton Head. That's the first time I meet his family. It's a whole week. And
on an island in South Carolina. All right.
I know. It was a very weird thing, and... we had a room, but there were 2 twin beds, and we pushed them together, and that got some weird looks. And it was just I think they thought I was corrupting their son or something.
Right, of course.
he wasn't a virgin or anything, but he had only, like, had, like, one girlfriend before me or something, so it was very, you know.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, it was, kind of. But it was like, why? Like, I meet these people that they're nice people, but they're not cool like my parents, you know, like, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like so the one thing, like, my one misstep, I guess, was I suggested that we go to Savannah, because Savannah is half hour away. I was like, oh, me and my ex and his brother and his girlfriend, you know, the four of us could take the car and drive half an hour to Savannah and go on a ghost tour, because one of the most haunted places in the country. And they're just like, oh, no, we want you to stay on the island. We're like 21 at this point. I'm like
I mean, I feel like that's pretty typical for that age, though.
Yeah.
We're like, because I was the same way. Like, the first time I brought a girlfriend camping with my family. My family goes camping in northern Michigan every year. And it was the first time, like, I brought a girlfriend. And I was 25. I was in grad school.
Wow,
and she was
that was 23. The first time you brought a girlfriend?
Yeah, camping, yes.
Oh, to camping.
Yeah. Like, I'd had other ones.
you had
so I never met a girl until I was 23.
Not until you were in grad school.
It was really awkward. Yeah, but it was the first time I brought a girlfriend. And it was so weird because it was just that, you know, I'm 25, she's 23. We're adults, but your parents still kind of look at you as kids, like you're recently out of college or whatever, and so we got there.
They're still on their cell phone plan.
And it was like, it was kind of one of those things where I didn't want to be like, hey, where are we sleeping? Because I didn't want to assume that it was even cool that we slept together. And then my mom was like, by the way, you guys will be over there. That's like your area. You can have that. And I'm like, okay. So we're cool. Like, it's just, you kind of, everybody dodges around that sex stuff because it's like, we know it's happening, but we don't want to address it yet, and you're still kind of a kid to me.
What my parents did is basically the boyfriends they didn't want me to sleep in the room when they stayed over, and the boyfriend that they did like, I say with like one.
That one guy.
The one that they liked, they let me do that because they're like, oh yeah, he's a good kid. But the other one that was like he was an idiot. I'm so glad. But they were just a lot more strict on that.
Okay.
But I don't know. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Detroit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you like that? Like, were you Detroit proper, or like?
Well, I was technically born in the city, which is why I can say I'm from Detroit. And then, like all the rest of the white people, we go to the suburbs. Like, that's just what happens.
So you're not like a 9 mile?
No, I grew up on 8 Mile, actually.
Yeah?
Like a block south of 8 Mile.
Wow.
People just don't realize that it goes on a very long time, so only part of it's in the city. Like, I grew up in a pretty nice part of 8 Mile.
The only... I don't think... I've driven through Detroit, but the thing that sticks out with me the most, my dad used to do, like, he does restaurant stuff. And he used to do, like, Rowley's stuff, and they opened up... He told me a story how they opened up one, like, on 8 or 9 Mile in Detroit, and the day before the store was supposed to open, somebody broke in and stole the cash registers. And I was like, okay, right. That explains Detroit to me. Yeah. And that's what I've always thought about.
So the thing that people don't really know about Detroit is that it used to be super dangerous. Now it is mostly vacant. So
it's just empty?
Yeah. Detroit used to be like 2 million people, and it is now like 700,000 people.
Whoa.
Yeah. And like what I said about like the white people leave, that is a legitimate real thing. The population of Detroit is 85% African American. Like all of the white people bailed the hell out in the 60s and 70s. So like the suburbs of Detroit are exactly like the suburbs of Chicago. It's the exact same thing. Like you just have the you know, like the Buffalo Grove areas, and you have the Arlington Heights areas, and you have like everything.
Naperville.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the city itself is kind of a burnt out pile of death.
Well, being from Louisville, when I was a kid, we had issues where we thought that might happen to our downtown. And they went through like a 20-year plan to revamp and make the downtown really nice, and they did it well. But it took a very long time. But first they created this nice lakefront park, but they were like, hey, the whole plan was, we don't want to become Detroit, we want to make downtown livable for people. And they did all these things over like 20 years, like creating a park, moving the baseball stadium downtown, Muhammad Ali Museum. They did all these things, creating like cool lofts, and now we've got different neighborhoods with trendy bars and hipster stuff.
And that's actually what's happening in Detroit now. Like,
Is it?
It's really turning. There are areas there that are awesome, and they like really went after tech industry, and then
tech.
Yeah, like there's like a...
I mean, Detroit is internet like anywhere else, so why wouldn't they have
exactly?
tech?
And so they wanted to get in on the internet money, and then they got like my cousin actually runs this diner there that's all like locally sourced food, and it has Anthony Bourdain just recently like mentioned it, and it's like getting written up in all these like you must go to places. And so there's
your brother works
no
there?
my cousin.
Your cousin.
Yeah, my cousin Molly.
That's great.
And that like they went after like that kind of like hipster and tech thing because they all like hipsters, tech people, gay people. They always fix neighborhoods. Like that's who you go after. They
fix the neighborhood. Call a hipster, a gay person,
and a tech guy.
A tech guy.
And they will come in and they'll go, we're gonna build an organic garden in this vacant lot, and we're gonna clean this up. And
we're gonna take this big warehouse and turn it into a cool fucking trendy office.
Those
that has
groups of people are amazing at just like fixing up neighborhoods.
Oh man.
Yep.
Well, that's why San Francisco's so expensive.
Yeah, exactly. That is absolutely true. I've never looked at it that way. Yes, that is correct.
That's why San Francisco is like the most expensive place in the country because they're overloaded with tech.
It is the most gentrified place on earth, is what we're saying. Right? That explains so much.
San Francisco. Too expensive for anyone to live unless you're hipster, a tech person, or a gay person.
I've known like 4 people that moved out to San Francisco. They're like, yeah, I got this huge raise. I'm going to go out there. A year later, they came back. They're like, yeah, that raise was just cost of living. Just a lateral move. I got there, and I'm like, I'm in the exact same financial position.
I have actually never been to San Francisco. I want to go.
Really?
But maybe it's been too expensive for me to go, basically. No, yeah, I have not been out there, but I would like to go at some point.
It's lovely.
Yes. I want to go to the Napa Valley area as well and get drunk on wine. But I think every time I go to California, I usually go to LA or San Diego. So
San Diego's my favorite place on earth.
Oh, my cousin.
I'm going to retire to San Diego.
My cousin lives in San Diego. It's so chill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The high temperature is 83. The low temperature is 68.
68 is too cold. Too cold. 68 is too cold. You know, girls have a different internal temperature than guys.
Yeah,
you know that?
I love it when it gets at night where I just have to put on a hoodie. Like, that's my favorite. Where you're like, it's a little bit of chill in the air, but it's not cold.
I like warm. I love, you know what I love? I love about summer. I love super warm. I'd rather be too hot than too cold. Like,
and I'm the exact opposite. And here's my reasoning. If it's cold, I can keep putting on more until I'm warm. If it's hot enough, eventually I'm just sitting there naked. Like, there's nothing else I can do.
Then you could join a nudist colony. They've got plenty of those in California, right?
Right, but it's like, but I'm still that hot. And like, there's nothing else to take off. If you're somewhere, like, especially when you're out in California, in the valley, and it's 120 degrees out, and the wind is hitting you, and the wind is hot. I've never had hot wind before, but it's awful. Where the wind hits you and makes it worse.
God, we're talking about weather. Night Weatherup,
hey,
talking about weather.
Name. I'm allowed to, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting last name.
I spent my entire life hearing, hey, how's the weather up there? So I get to make weather jokes, too.
So, you said that you were a teacher. What brought you from being a teacher to doing comedy?
So I used to work at a hockey rink. I was a...
You've done everything.
I've done a
You're
lot
like, hey,
of stuff.
I went to Morocco. You sang in a choir.
I worked ground crew for the Detroit Tigers. I was a caddy. I was a hockey referee.
Yeah, let's just go through all your jobs. Like
had every job you can have in a restaurant, from like literally dishwasher to manager. Except I've never bartended.
I think you seem like you'd be a good bartender.
I feel like I would. I'm a good listener.
Yeah,
you know,
bartenders you just need to be a good listener. That's all.
And a good pusher. Like, you can have one more. Like
you just push people to become alcoholics. You know,
right?
Like, hey, it's all right. It's your birthday.
Yeah.
Have one.
Yeah, have 3.
No big deal.
Yeah. So anyway, I was working in a hockey rink, and my buddy that he was my manager. We worked together all day, like fixing everything, and we would just like talk about comedy, tell each other jokes that we had written. But we're both super anxious people. I had horrible stage fright. Like, if I sing in a group of people, don't care. I mix in well. But when, like, I hate singing about, like, I don't karaoke. Because I can hear my own mistakes, and I feel horrible about it, and I don't want to deal with it.
So you're a perfectionist.
Yeah. That's a nice way to say obsessive, but yeah.
Are you OCD or anything?
Probably. Like, I won't go to a doctor about it, because I don't want to know. You know?
I feel like guys do that all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I'm just not going to go to a doctor about this
thing. Yeah. I'm fine. So yeah, we would talk about it, but we were never going to do it. And then I was away at grad school. I was in Champaign at U of I. And he hit me up one day. He goes, hey, I found this open mic up in Waukegan, which is right by where we used to live. And he goes, when you get back, we're going.
And I went, I didn't agree to that. He's like, right, but I will shame you in public on Facebook however I can until this happens. We're doing it.
Whoa.
So I agreed to go watch.
Pushy friend.
Yeah. So we went once and watched it. And I went, I can be better than some of those people.
That's what I think a lot of people do. They see something.
I can't be that bad. Like when,
Well, so my first experience, I had been dating this guy, kind of, whatever. That's how all of it is. And he was doing comedy, kind of, and he was doing open mic, and I went to Three Dead Moose with him. Mm-hmm. And after, he did not that great. And then afterwards, I was giving him tags before I knew what tags were.
Okay.
And we ended up working out, and 6 months later I was bored with doing sketch and improv. I had a group that just fell apart again because everyone was too busy to do stuff. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go to an open mic. And that's where it came. But it came from seeing, this isn't as hard as I thought, or to be as good to start.
And that's so that's kind of how it started. I was actually I was student teaching. I was in
the burbs?
Yeah, I was in Mount Prospect. I was at Prospect High, living with my parents in Lincolnshire. And we went up to this mic and then went back the next week and went up, and I loved it, and I got a good laugh, and it was the most amazing feeling, as you know.
So your first time you got a laugh?
Yeah, my first time I did 11 minutes.
What?
Yeah, it was this show where they went
suburbs. You get so much more time.
They went. You get 5 minutes. If it's not going well, we will light you earlier. If it's going great, we'll just let you roll. And so it went well, and I had fun. And then I was student teaching, and every Thursday night I'd go out and do the open mics, and then
became an addiction.
Yeah, and then I started coming into the city a little bit, and I was terrified. I'm like, these are real comedians, and these are Chicago comedians. The first time I met Marty DeRosa, I was too embarrassed to talk to him because I'm like, no, he's a real comedian. I don't want just some suburb kid. And then I found out I was older than him, and I was like, you're an idiot. Just go talk to the guy. But yeah, it started like that, and then I just kind of, you meet people, and, oh, hey, come do this show, hey, come do that.
Yeah.
And after 2 years, it got to the point where I went, all right, I'm actually working on the road a lot. I was a regular at Zanies at that point. 2
years?
I got booked my first week at Zanies a year in.
Wow.
It was extremely fortunate. It was yeah.
That sounds crazy.
It was, and it was too fast, actually. I got in.
You weren't ready?
I wasn't, and my first week went really well, and they brought me back a month later, and
Hosting?
I was teaching. No, as a co-feature. So they'd have two people in the middle that would both do 12.
Oh, they used to do that.
Yeah, that's how, and I loved it, because the idea was they have a pro that they know can start the show well, get people engaged, and then they put the new people in the middle, so if it gets messed up, then that guy can go back up.
They don't do that anymore, though.
No, they don't, and I wish they did, because I thought it was a great
That would be good.
method. Yeah. And my second time, I was teaching, and it was my first year of teaching, and I was totally overwhelmed, and I hadn't been on stage for literally 2 or 3 weeks.
Oof, that's
and I went
such a long time.
And he was there the only night he was there that week was Tuesday night, Bert Haas, who books Zanies, and I ate it. And I was rusty, and it was just bad. And then it was 8 months before he had me back, and I started back over with a 6-minute showcase spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least you found a way clearly to work back up, and now you're hosting the shows the audition shows, which are all unfortunately getting screwed over by the Cubs.
Yeah, it's gonna be a weird week. We actually last night was it wasn't an audition. It was just it was Dobie Maxwell was headlining, Jeff Arcuri and me, and it was a really small audience, but they were fun.
Was it the political show, or was it the?
No, it was just
gotcha.
Yeah, just a Dobie show.
Nice.
And that was cool. So I went, all right, as long as we have those audiences. Tonight was sleepy. They were a little rough.
Well, I think it's hard to compete with the sports when such big things are happening.
I mean, I remember doing shows here when the Blackhawks were in the playoffs, and this city wasn't even a big hockey city.
No.
And it would still shut down
the
comedy.
Canadians can have hockey, but...
Yeah.
Now
and in Detroit, we're kind of Canada.
This is so not going to be topical because by the time this airs, it will be past this.
Yeah.
And but
no, it's going to be an interesting week. And so there's what is it? It's 8 shows of showcases with 14 comics.
You're hosting everybody in the comedy scene.
Yeah, I'm going to meet the entire Chicago comedy scene, and I'm going to say, keep it going 98 times.
Keep it going for this person.
Yeah. You guys ready? You still awake?
Do you like is hosting something you enjoy, or do you prefer to feature or headline?
I prefer headlining.
I mean, I'm sure everybody. Yeah, I prefer the money to headline.
And also just the space.
Time.
When you first get 45, it's terrifying. Where you're like, I don't even know if I have that much material, and so you're trying to like stretch but once you get to the point where you have like a set, then you get to start playing around. And you like get to just throw new jokes in, and it's harder.
Well, you can expand on jokes. Someone once told me if you have a really strong 10, you could have a 40-45 if you just take each of those jokes and expand on them.
It sounds like terrible advice, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah. Usually, if you have a good 10, advice. Maybe you stretch it out to 15.
Nah. Well, I mean, I guess it depends.
It depends on your style.
There are some comics I know that have 10-minute jokes. Like, the joke extends, and they're really good at that.
Right, yeah. And, like, if you have a more storytelling style, you can stretch it out. Some people, though, will just take a joke and beat it to death. Like, no, you had a good joke. You don't need to turn that into, like, 10 minutes. Just have a good 3-minute joke.
Oh, yeah. I get what you mean about that. I think just maybe, like, exploring the topic deeper instead of the actual joke.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Okay. I see what you're saying.
I think that's what I mean. It's just, like, taking that topic and exploring that topic deeper, not like just, hey, these are all, like, 20 tags to the same joke, because that would really, like, drive you nuts. But, no, I mean, I guess it's all interpretive with all that
Well,
stuff.
I mean, the thing about comedy is it's like every other art form. It's intentionally subjective. Like, I know that there are people that just don't find me funny. I'm not their style, and they're not wrong. I'm just not what they're looking for when they go to a show. And a lot of people get really mad. They're like, well, they didn't like me. And they go, yeah, that's fine. They're allowed to.
I mean,
there are music styles that you go, it's just not for me. I don't want to listen to it. I'm not a jerk for not liking it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, and I think that you can't take it personally with that.
No.
Yeah. Do you, was there anybody's style that you liked when you were coming up?
Oh, yeah. Greg Giraldo was my favorite comic.
Okay.
And he's one of those guys. Like, he was in Harvard Law and quit to do stand-up. And he does, like, he would do darker jokes and he would do dirty jokes, but they were so smart and so well written.
You're smart comic fan.
Even if, like, a really dumb pun, but if it's well written, like didn't see it coming, that's my favorite stuff. Where I just go, all right, you got me. Oh, okay.
Do you remember the first joke you wrote that you realized was, like, really funny? Like, yeah.
I was doing a joke, and let me preface by reminding people that 7 years ago, you were allowed to say the word retarded. And I was telling a joke. It was about a story with me and my buddy Dan, and he said something stupid. We were at a Burger King. I was just like, dude, you're retarded. And this woman, like, freaked. She's like, no, you can't say that. Like, my friend's daughter's Barbie has Asperger's, and that's hate speech. Oof. You're an asshole. And I was like, hey, my father's an asshole. And so, like, it was the first time I told that joke, like, literally sitting at my table. My family had asked me to tell a joke, and they laughed, and I was like, oh. So that actually is a good joke, because these are the kind of people that would intentionally not laugh and be like, you're stupid. But, they laughed because they just didn't see the twist coming. And I went, oh, that's a really good joke. And, like, I closed on that joke for probably 3 years. Like, that was my go-to. That was a very short version of the joke. It's actually, there's more to it. There are layers.
Yeah, you expanded on the joke.
Yeah, just taking the whole concept of it was before this age that we're in now with, like, social justice warriors, and it's just kind of turning it on its head where somebody was like, you can't say retarded, which is a fair argument, but then they'll call you an idiot or a dick or whatever, and it's like, you're also name-calling.
Yeah.
And so, like, it just hadn't been explored. So I was like, oh, that's a cool thing, and it's different.
How long do you usually hang on to jokes? Is there a time limit? You're like, hey, you gotta...
I don't have a time limit. I just have a point at which I will be telling it on stage, and in my own head I go, oh my god, I don't care. I've heard this joke. So it's kind of more just that. Once I get kind of bored with it, I'll often, I'll just throw it away, and then usually I'll bring it back. Like, I've had jokes that literally, like, 2 years later, I'm like, oh, right, I forgot about that joke. And then it's fresh again. And actually, you kind of rewrite it. And since all of this stuff, I was new. So they're not even that great now. I look at them and I'm like, oh, there are a lot of holes in this joke, and so now I can actually make it a better joke.
Or it's like it was a good concept, but you weren't a strong enough writer at the time to really make that. Like one of my jokes I really like came from a joke that I was like 2 months in and I wrote it and then I revisited it like a year later and I rewrote it and then I rewrote it again. So, and it's just kind of nice to rewrite it. Sitting up to stay awake.
Yeah, no, I'm doing that because I keep doing the lay down drink thing, and I'm going to pour it all over me.
That'd be great though to get that on video, right? We'll just like have a
wet T-shirt edition.
Have a loop of you just spilling it out. And be like,
I've finally become a GIF.
It's the dream, right?
Right? Yeah.
And you've been out in LA for how long now?
A year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you digging that?
I like it. It's completely different. It is not my style of a scene. I'm not really like an LA person.
You're a smart joke person. I would imagine you more in New York.
Yeah, and LA is a lot. There are a ton of really good comics, but there are a ton of people that aren't comics.
That try to be comics.
Yeah, there's a lot of actors.
A lot of models.
Well, there's a lot of actors or models or writers, whatever it is, and their agent goes, you're a funny guy. You should do stand-up because it's stage time, it's networking, it's, exposure. And so you go to these open mics where you have 6 guys in a row that all open with, I thought about this in my car on the way here. And you go, that's not what we do. Yeah. That is not what we do. This is literally us getting up there and exposing our souls to people. And you're like, I saw a sign on the road today, and you get out of the way.
See, I think it's like in LA, if it's somebody that looks too attractive to be a comic, then they're probably not a comic.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. It's like you think that, and then somebody gets up there, and you're like, that woman is more beautiful than any woman that will ever talk to me. And she's a really good writer, and she's got great... I hate you. I hate that you get all of those things. I
think you also have to try harder, though. If you are attractive, like... Emily and I used to have this conversation because she started wearing hats on stage and dressing down, because if you're, as a girl, if you're
Absolutely.
seen as too attractive, then people will look at your boobs and not listen to what you're saying. And so it's about finding that balance. Like, I never wear makeup, now. Maybe I'll wear makeup if I have a date, but even this, we're filming this, no makeup. I just don't do it.
Me neither.
And,
just want to say.
Yeah. But that's the thing, I've, gotten to a point where it's I don't want to try because it's just, I want people to think this is how I look normally, because I do, versus the people that wear makeup every day and when they take it off, they're like, oh, you look like a different person.
Yeah. And, that's one way to do it. There are also, you're like,
that's one way. Just don't wear makeup and you look
right. But, you kind of have to find your approach because, Emily, she was my roommate for 3 years. So, we talked a ton about this. The fact that, she was the first person where I really would hang out after a show and watch the awful crap guys. And women also would say to a female comic. Just all of that, you know what, you were great for a girl. Or I normally don't find women funny, but you were great. All of those cutting, backhanded compliments. And I realized how much harder it is for women in the industry. Because even if you're great, somebody's still going to go, I didn't expect you to be great. And they think that's
a compliment, but
helpful, but you go, why? Or why did you immediately assume that you weren't going to like me? That's bullshit.
Or you have somebody that, maybe doesn't get up a lot or doesn't go to the same mics as you or something, and they hear you, and then they try to get you, you've never seen them before, and they try to give you advice as if you're, newer, and I'm like, dude, I've been doing this a while, that drives me nuts. And they're like, hey, you should rewrite this joke like this. I'm like... That stuff is what drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't say it. I'm not mean about it. I'm just okay, and I kind of walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so some women will either dress away from it because they don't want. Because I know that Emily has definitely had shows where she dressed up because it was a big event.
Yeah,
and people
Conan,
respond differently. I mean, we used to do New Year's shows where Zanies would do them, and they would have a bunch of their younger comics. And they would be like, hey, it's New Year's, dress up. People are going to be there. And so all of us guys are wearing, blazers and ties or whatever. And the women wear dresses or, something fancier. And she would get a different response.
Yeah.
And I saw that happen to her, where, she'd go up there in, a dress looking really great. And then she would do political humor. And people were like, blah, blah, blah.
You're supposed to be talking about sex.
Dating material.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's ridiculous. But there's, the flip side of that is you look at people like Camilla Cleese or Eliza Schlesinger, who kind of steer into that.
Yeah.
Where they go, yeah, I know what you're expecting. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, they just take that much more like, no, I get it. I'm a pretty girl, so I'm not supposed to be funny, but I am.
Yeah.
And so, like, you really just have to, it's personality based, whether you want to, like, punch at it or you kind of steer away from it or you go around it.
Yeah, I'm still at the point where I don't really dress up that much. Like, yeah, if I'm doing a showcase, I'll try a little bit, but, like, it's still that balance. Like, I'm not going to be wearing what I'd wear on, like, a date. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The girls aren't coming out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And, like, the thing is, like, I hate dressing up for shows, too. When I'm doing a show with a jacket on, I feel like I can't move. Like, it's just not me. I'm not a coat and tie person. When I started out, it was all t-shirts, jeans, backwards hat, because I'm like, I'm going to be me. And then, for guys, it's dramatically less. But there is still, like, they'll pull you aside and, like, just so you know, like, you're talking about being a teacher with your hat on backward. Like, nobody believes you. Like, you need to be a little bit... So I try to, like, you know, I have a collar but no buttons and jeans. And, like, I'll wear nice shoes. So it's like, that's just my personality. I can't do the full dress up, but I also realize that I can't talk about what I want to talk about while wearing, you know, a Batman t-shirt.
but there are some things that are weird because some people will walk on stage and the audience automatically thinks they're funny even before they say anything, just based on how they look.
Yep.
Like, whether they're wearing weird clothes or they're, you know... typically bigger people tend to, you know, they're like, oh, they must be funny. Like, I know that that's a stupid thing, but I think that's what audiences...
I mean, there is a concept of a funny look.
Yeah.
And it's different to everybody, but there are, like you said, like, yeah, like bigger comics, like, I think there's an inherent, like, oh, big people are usually funny. Like, you know, like, we all have those stereotypes in our head. Even though we don't mean to, we have them. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure he's jovial, and you're like, that's actually kind of a terrible thing to think.
It is. But at the same time, it's even worse if, like, a woman's coming on stage and they're thinking, oh, I don't, like, you know, I don't think women are funny, and then they're automatically, like, cross arms, like, not wanting.
Yep.
Like, it's hard to get an audience... I mean, if you got a longer set, you got time to win them over, but, you know, it's hard to get them if they're automatically thinking, oh, I'm going to go to the bar because, you know. I'm not saying that people think that all the time, but it's a...
And, yeah, it's not all people, and it's not all the time, but it is statistically way higher. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's just one of those things where I'll talk to friends, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I know that sucks. I'm very glad I don't have to deal with it, but it's wrong that you do, but I'm still glad that I don't.
Do you adjust your material based on the audience? Like, if you're touring and stuff? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, like, so your whole goal is to please entertain the audience, or do you want to get...
Yeah.
Like, if the audience isn't getting your smart jokes, for example. I'm not saying the audience is dumb, but...
No.
You know,
there are times where it just doesn't connect, and it's not necessarily dumber. Like, the first time I started going down south, when I was touring, and I'd go to the south, or I'd go out, I was in Utah, and it's just people have different sensibilities. People have different speeds. And so I was working Richmond, Virginia, and I was opening for a black headliner. It was predominantly black audiences. The first two shows, I ate it hard. And the door guy, who had been working there since it had opened like 30 years ago, he has an autograph book of every famous comic on Earth. They've all come through. He's just one of those grandpa guys that he knows everything. And he came up to me after the first show and he goes, "Hey, listen, if they're not coming along with your jokes, you need to tell them to go fuck themselves. Because you've got funny jokes. And the audiences down here sometimes don't trust somebody that looks different. And you have to tell them they're wrong." And I went, if I tried that in Chicago, they would kill me. And he goes, "You're not in Chicago." And so the next night, it was like my second joke in, and they just weren't rolling with me. And I went, "All right, here we go. I'm going to try this." And I just like, went off. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, do I need to slow it down? Does this not say funny bone? Does it say taking shit seriously bone?" Where, like, I just kind of went after him a little bit. Immediately turned. They immediately started laughing and kind of came along, and I just learned that, oh, this is a different audience. I am not used to this.
That's what's interesting. I've done shows like clubs in like weird places in Indiana and stuff like that. And it's a very different audience.
Very different audience.
Very different audience. And you have to learn, because I was used to mostly doing shows in Chicago and maybe the suburbs, but mostly metropolitan cities. So when I was like out in like nowhere Indiana, I was like, wow, very different crowd. Got to change some stuff up.
Yeah, and like I don't really completely change jokes. I'll change the timing. I might change a couple of phrases, things like that. But yeah, to your question, like my whole thing about doing stand up, I don't have a 5-year goal. I don't have like a plan in it. It's just I go out and people laugh and forget about crappy things that are going on in their life, and that's cool. And I've had multiple people come up and say something like, I was recently diagnosed with cancer 6 months ago. This is the first time my friends got me out. I didn't want to come. This is the first time I laughed and forgot about that in 6 months.
Oh, that's great.
And it's the greatest feeling. It's so much better than any other feeling I've had in comedy. So I'm chasing that.
Yeah.
And whatever I can do to keep going out and making people go, oh, right, I forgot I was having a bad day. I had fun for an hour. That's the goal. So
that makes sense. So as long as they're, so it's not as much about you getting a political point or anything across. It's more about...
Yeah, if I can whip a little message at them, I take that as a bonus.
You kind of slip it in there?
Yeah. I have a joke about my best friend getting married, and...
when did your best friend get married?
It was years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's like one of the beginning of it, where I'm like, during his wedding, and this is a real thing, he looked at her and said, Rebecca, you are my best friend. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm sitting right here. And I know how she beat me, and I'm not willing to do that. And so it goes from there, and then it travels into this second joke, where I'm contemplating the idea of having sex with my best friend to reclaim the throne and all this stuff. And up here, that's fine. Everybody's cool with it. I go down south and I do that line about I understand how she beat me and I'm not willing to do that. And it got this huge laugh. And I'm like, you think... No, whoa.
They thought that she beat you.
No. They thought that I was making a joke oh, being gay is gross. And so they're like, ha, 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 yeah! And I'm like, no, whoa.
So then what did you do?
So then I, I had to write this, another thing, a second part of it, where I talk about, I sang in college, and I have a ton of close gay friends. I sang in a gay wedding, and I'm pretty sure that's the second gayest thing you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, just that kind of thing, so I know that they're going to laugh at that. At first, I was like, I don't want to tell the joke, because I don't want them to think that I'm saying this homophobic thing that I'm not saying. Then I went, or I can get them on board and then twist it and kind of throw it at them. By the way, you didn't realize it, but you're totally agreeing with this point. It's
and they're like, because when people are laughing, they're less argumentative about a point. They're like, oh, that's funny. And then wait, but that was also a good point.
Right, exactly.
It's a way, because versus you're on your soapbox and you're being like, hey, blah, blah, blah.
I don't want to get confrontational. I'd rather just plant that seed where they start to go oh man, I just kind of agreed with that point that I didn't think I agreed with. Okay.
This is why I think a lot of comedy has actually helped progress things television shows and even writing, just help people see more open with that.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of go oh, well, you only ever hear liberal comedians and, there's no conservative Daily Show. And I think a lot of it is that when you're a comic, you travel a ton. You meet people all over the country, sometimes all over the world. And at least in my experience, most of them are very, very similar people. Whether I'm in Utah or Alabama or Indiana or here or New York, most people are really kind of middle of the road people. They have opinions and beliefs, but they mostly want to be left alone and try to be happy.
Yeah.
Most people are genuinely nice people. It's just they don't meet everybody else. So they just kind of hear what other people are like. Mm-hmm. And so as a comic, you just go, no, we're all pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which is a very progressive attitude. We're like, no, I mean, gay people should have all the same rights as me. I'm a straight white male.
Piss in whatever bathroom they want to piss in.
Yeah, and I don't care where you're to the bathroom. If you're a child molester of either gender, I don't want you in the bathroom. But
but
that's not the same as being transgendered. So why the fuck are we talking about this? And so when you meet people and realize that most of them are good, it is really hard to have conservative opinions.
It is, and I think the problem that the conservatives are having right now is the GOP has kind of founded itself on basically being the anti-progressive party, you know?
We liked it the way it was.
Yeah, and so, but that's what it's clung to, and that's why we have these, white power groups supporting Trump and all these things happening, and it's become this crazy, this crazy, very negative thing, and they're not, honestly, fiscally, I would... fiscally, my dad's a Republican fiscally, and if they had certain social issues, which are more important to me than financial, because I'm a broke comedian, but if they were more progressive on social issues, then maybe I would consider doing that for the financial or economic reasons. But the social issues are such a big deal to me, and they're so stubborn about stuff, and they've been shutting down the government, and they're refusing to, even meet with Merrick Garland, they're doing all these stupid things, and it's I don't get it, and it's frustrating. And
it's the whole thing with the GOP going like, Trump is not one of us. This is not us. And we go, no, you created that.
Exactly.
You did that. By tying fiscal conservatism with, like, biblical literalist Christianity, this is your fault.
Yeah.
You literally just took it in. Like, I'm the same way. I wrote a thing recently where I would love to have to actually think about a Republican candidate again. I would love for there to be a Republican that goes, here are my fiscal ideas, here's my world policy. Also, gay people have the same rights as everyone else. We can't tell you who to marry. Women have, their own control over their own bodies. I'd go, okay, cool. So what is it you were talking about tax reform? Not like,
yeah.
Because if you go, nope, I'm sorry, we need to repeal this, and women, Roe v. Wade shouldn't have happened, I go, then I don't
Well,
care.
they're too afraid to go away from those, you know, I don't know, like those top points, those, you know, tiers of the Republican Party, I guess. And that's why I think that the only way it's going to work, the only way a conservative person can maybe get back in the White House is if the party falls apart and they create something new.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully that's going to happen. I don't know. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, no, in the 80s, brilliant Republican strategists came together and went, we need to convince Southern Christians that Jesus was a Republican. And they did it. And it worked great.
Jesus was a Republican?
It was brilliant. It was brilliant political maneuvering, and they got this very disparate group of people to just all vote the same all the time. Because they just went, no. If I vote for these people, they're going to make people have abortions, and they're going to, you know... They're going to tell our daughters to have sex before marriage, and they're going to tell our sons to do drugs.
People are slowly dying out, and you've got states like Arizona and
the fact that Arizona and Utah are not just deadlocked Republicans, and we're not talking about them, is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these places that are changing, and I think that's just because the scope of things, like, you know, like there are gay people everywhere, even in red states, you know.
Yeah. And a lot of I have friends. I grew up in a very conservative church, and it was not overtly homophobic, but it was like, that's a sin and you shouldn't do it, and if you are, we still love you, but it's bad. Mm-hmm. And so it was like this. Well,
that's actually, you know, not as bad as some places.
Exactly, but it's still not good.
It's still not good. Like, no, I'm not saying.
And some of my friends that they were close friends of mine when you know, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell was overturned and DOMA was overturned, they were really upset about it, and I just remember going like, man, their kids are going to be so embarrassed. Like, that's that next generation where it's like, my grandpa sometimes says racist stuff.
Yeah.
Like, those are going to be the people where you're like, your kids and grandkids are going to be so embarrassed that you actually tried to fight to keep people from having rights. And I've actually had several of them, though, in the last year or two, where it's like they finally have a gay coworker who is out because they feel comfortable being out now. And all of a sudden it's like, they're spending time with gay people and realizing, they're people too. Yeah, they're people, and they're good people. And now I kind of feel like a jerk for what I used to think, and like that's that first step of coming around.
And I mean, growing up in Kentucky, I've got family in like Tennessee and that kind of thing. And there's some things, but some people are so rigid in what they like. I've got a cousin who's transgender, you know, and he's been going through transition, and his parent like refuses to call him by him, you know, and I'm like, so like I like send him messages. I'm like, hey, like, I know this sucks because you're in the middle, you know, but like it's better in other places. Like, find a way to get to a city, and things will get better. But it's just really frustrating. The problem is that there are so many religious places that I think are very accepting, you know, and very open. I went to a non-denominational Christian church, very large church in Louisville. We used to call it Six Flags Over Jesus. like it could fit 9,000 people at a single service. It was like one of those ridiculously...
Yeah, one of those airport churches.
Yeah, it was an airport church. Southeast Christian Church. Good church. Shout out.
Nice.
Shout out. My first church shout out on Sleeping with Sarah. But yeah, they were very, you know, that wasn't like saying like, hey, it's a bad thing. And there's a lot of churches, I think, that don't do that. But the problem is that there are so many that are rigid. And even we've got the Pope that's even way more, it's becoming more liberal. Yep. You know, imagine if the next Pope was like 60 instead of like 80. Like, how much more liberal the Pope would be.
It was actually, I grew up, so I, again, was like also non-denominational, a Southern Church of Christ. You were Southeast, I was Northeast. What up? So, growing up in that, like, Catholicism was just wrong. Because it wasn't like, they don't choose to get baptized. Baptizing babies is not what the Bible said. Like, so I grew up thinking, like, being taught that Catholicism wasn't like real Christianity.
What?
Yeah. It was, again, not aggressively. We weren't like, and we hate them. It's just like, they're just doing it wrong. And,
I love that you have the accent.
Oh, yeah. Every old person at my church had I thought old people had Southern accents because everybody was from the South. So, like, I grew up just, like, disagreeing with almost all Catholic philosophy. And I remember this Pope, like, every time the story would come out where he's like, oh, by the way, he's saying, like, gay people are cool. Oh, and he's saying, like, we don't need to do this. And, like, I was just like, the fact that I agree with the Pope this much is really confusing to me. Like, it's just completely against what I had as a kid. But I'm like, no, me and the Pope are totally down. Like, I really like this guy. He's got some good ideas.
That's cool.
But no, I think you're right. Maybe we should go with, like... Actually, isn't there a show coming out about, like, the young Pope?
I have no idea.
I think it's a real thing. Like, they're doing, like, a 30-year-old guy becomes the Pope.
That'd be so weird.
It's like Ewan McGregor, I think.
Ewan McGregor gets to play everything. Has anybody ever gotten mad at you, like, dating-wise, for, like, texting in bed?
Oh, yeah. I will sit there. Yeah, left to my own devices, like my iPad, I'll just play on it all day.
You know what I started doing, and this is really nerdy because I wanted to improve my vocabulary. I got this SAT vocab game thing from MindSnacks, and what it is just a game that you play. It's like just like you're playing like games, like I don't know. They've got like a bubble game, for example. They've got a blue bubble and a red bubble. One will be the word, and one will be the synonym. You know, so you just like match them up, right? Yeah. And then so it's like a silly game that's like easy, but then I'm like learning new vocab words. So like I was like, if I'm gonna be
learning and playing.
If I'm gonna be playing, I might as well be learning, and that's how much of a nerd I am.
Yeah.
But that way I can,
yeah,
I can learn words like pernicious. There you go.
My last two relationships actually regularly were like we'd be hanging out staying in at night to watch a show, like binge watching a show, and I just pick up. You'd start playing a game, or
would you be like, "Why aren't you paying attention to that?"
Yeah, why aren't you paying? I'm like, you're not watching. Yes, yeah, I'm watching. Well, how can you watch and play? Because I can't. This actually helps me out, where I'm like that part of my brain is playing euchre or whatever stupid card game I'm playing, or like Simpsons Tapped Out, which I actually had to take off my devices because.
I tried that for a while. I did it for like a month when it first came out, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore.
It was bad. Like that was the game where I'd like literally get off stage from a show, and I'm like, I have to do the thing because I need to.
And I took Pokemon Go off my stuff too.
Yeah, I've done that with a few games where I've gotten to the point where I'm like, all right, you need to be on.
I like Two Dots. That one's an easy one.
Never played it. I'm actually at the point right now where
and you're like, no, never played it, but I'm going to download it.
No, I can't. I have Words with Friends because you can only play it when somebody else plays, and I have like Solitaire and Euchre, which is a Michigan/Alabama game and nowhere else on earth. And that's it.
You mean euchre? Wait, you said euchre?
Yeah, euchre.
No, my mom used to play. Like my mom plays a monthly euchre.
Nice. Okay.
Group. Like it's in Louisville.
It's so weird. Like it's really big. Michigan, Alabama, Canada, and then it's just like other spots.
Yeah, Kentucky. I mean, my mom's been playing like a monthly euchre game with like the ladies in the neighborhood for like 15 years.
Yeah, love it. My family has a tournament with a trophy.
And they do bunko too. I don't know the rules of bunko.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. But I used to grow up playing rummy, was what we play. Not gin rummy, but just rummy.
Regular rummy, yeah.
Yeah, that's
gin is the one you have to keep it all in your hand.
No, rummy is where you pass out. And what we do is on family vacations, we play it and then stay up late. That was like when they would just have beer and hang out in the hotel and just play cards late, and we'd play like a nickel a point. And we still do this on vacations. Like this is what we do. Like we drink and we do this.
Yep.
And now that I'm older, I just drink more. Before it was like, hey, you can have a sip of beer.
Right.
You're 13, have a sip. I'm like, okay, I don't like this. Oh, you'll get used to it.
My mom went through nursing school when I was like 13. She when my sister and I were older, she went back and got her nursing degree, and she was doing her psych rotation. And I will never forget this. I was like, so what do you do? She's like, well, we do, like, a lot of what we do is literally just playing rummy with the patients. And she goes, I don't know if you know this, but crazy people cheat at rummy. Like, she's like, all of them, every one of them cheats. And all, like, she had this one specific day where she was like, today I played a game of rummy. I had 2 people that thought they were Jesus and 1 person that thought they were God. And they all just kept blatantly cheating. And you're like, I can't say anything because it's like, well, I'm Jesus. It's the rules. And that's the most vivid story I have from her in it. And she's, I'm like, oh, that's right. You can't really tell God that she's wrong.
Man.
Really.
If only you could use that logic in like a fight
Right.
with a significant other.
Wouldn't that be, yeah. I'm God.
Can't argue with me.
Wait, why are you leaving?
Do you find it hard to date in LA? I've heard it's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's a weird dating scene.
Because everybody's industry, right?
Almost everybody's industry. So everybody is very skeptical. Mm-hmm. And they are also very used to rejection.
Everyone's very used to
Oh, yeah.
do they reject people easily, or is it just
No, they're just so used to being turned down for roles and stuff that, like, everybody kind of has this, like, well, it's gonna go wrong attitude.
Very cynical about the relationship.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, this will be fun for a couple months, but it's just don't
Right.
get too comfortable.
Yeah, there's just a lot of, like, wait, so do you actually like me, or do you see me as, like, a connection? It's weird.
So do you like have girls be like, oh, like, what do you want from me, like, out of this? Like,
Yeah.
out of this, like, you're expecting something aside from my company.
Well,
and-
that's the other thing, is that nobody will be that direct with you in LA. It's all very passive-aggressive.
Oh, I hate passive-aggressive.
Oh, it's the worst. And I don't read it well.
Yeah.
So I often, like, will just respond to it like it's a normal question, and then I'm like, wait, hold on. No, I thought you were nice, but now I don't.
This is why I hate text messages. Like, I always take them the wrong way, and I'm like, this is why, like, I'll only text to, like, be like, hey, I'm gonna meet you here at this time, and maybe I'll be like, hey, how are you doing, if it's a friend that doesn't live here, but, like, I would much rather, and I know it's, like, old school, but I prefer talking on the phone, that way tone can come through, because I'm really bad at showing my tone on text messages, and,
the last girl I dated could never tell when I was being sarcastic on a text message. And the thing is I'm not an aggressive person. I avoid fights whenever possible. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, almost always, just assume, like, literally 99% of the time I'm being sarcastic. And if I'm not, you will know. Like, I will be very direct with being upset. But, like, she would just always read that, like, sarcasm into it, or, like, that different tone. So I started, you know that screaming cat emoji face?
Yeah.
That sarcastic cat. Like, I would just put that on the text, like, this is a joke. This is the sign. Please see that cat and don't think we're fighting.
This is why I wish that, like, there was different, like, a different font. Like, if you could do it italics, you know, and that would mean sarcasm.
Yeah.
But that's just, like, too much work, man,
It
you
is.
know? But, I don't know, I don't like text messaging, and I don't like the dating apps. Even though I have them, I'll have them and then not check them forever.
Yeah, no,
And people will be like, oh, I saw you on Tinder. I'm like, oh, yeah, I haven't looked at that in, like, 3 weeks.
I've been on 3 Tinder dates, and I think I'm done forever.
I've only...
It's combining a date with an interview, basically.
Oh, it feels like an interview.
Absolutely. Because it's like, I'm much more of, like, I meet through friends or something like that, because I don't know, I'd rather talk to people and, like, kind of get to know them and then go out on a date, as opposed to be like, oh, I think you're attractive, you think I'm attractive, we sent 4 messages, and then you get there and go, so...
Yeah, I've only gone on 1 Tinder date, but that was a guy that I had, like, 90 mutual friends in common with, and I'm pretty sure I'd met him before, but, like, we hadn't, you know, and that was, like, a very different thing, because I knew so many people he knew, we had a lot to talk about, you know? He was in comedy too, but not stand-up. But it was just a thing. I was like, I felt comfortable with that, but he's the only person I've gone on a Tinder date with.
Okay.
Mostly do it out of entertainment, because if I get drunk, I just love to fuck with people. Like, because they'll send me stupid messages, and I'm just, like, an asshole. Like, if I'm drinking, I just become, like, an asshole on dating. Because I've just had some people that just say, like, the most offensive and rude things to me. So I'm just a bitch right back. And it's a fun guilty pleasure thing I do when I'm drunk. So I'm like, all right, I'm not getting laid tonight. I'm gonna get drunk and
I get it.
You know.
Yeah, but that the flip side of that coin is also why I hate Tinder. Is women are expecting that. So there's, like, a lot of just like, hold on, you seem nice. When are you just gonna send me the unsolicited dick pic? Like, there's just that expectation. And so there's just a lot of, like, literally trying to convince them, like, no, like, I think I'm a legit nice guy, and I would never say or do those things.
But there are some people that are like that. Like, they won't expect things, or they'll be like, hey, like where you go out to dinner, like, oh my god, like, I went on a date, and this was, like, an okay Cupid date, but it was, like, we went to have drinks at this place, and like the back patio was like they were like smoking, and early on I had said something to the effect explaining that I don't like to smoke. You know, like I told a little story about how when my dad made me smoke a cigarette when I was 12 and I don't smoke, you know, that's why. And like halfway through the date, he's like, oh, like, can we sit in the back, like where the smoke was? And I'm a nice person. I was like, fine, we'll do that. And he was like, he would do all these things. Like there was some game going on, and he's like, well, if this person wins, then you got to give me a kiss. I'm like, no, I don't have to. God. Like, and I just like, I always try to make an excuse. This is an awful thing. Like I will make, like, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to meet up with you, but I have plans to meet up with friends later. Yeah. And I keep it vague, so that way, if the date's going bad, I'm like, oh, forgot, I've got to meet my friends soon, I'll see ya. Mm-hmm. But if it goes well, then I'll just be honest and be like, look, I don't really have to meet friends later, that's just something I say to keep people from being creepy. Yeah. And that always gives them almost too much of a boost of confidence, like, oh, so you really like me.
You're digging
and I'm like, no, it's not that, it's just you reached... You know, it's like a roller coaster ride. Like, you reached above this level of, you know, trustworthiness.
And that's why it's like a job interview. Like, you have a checklist of things that you're looking for. And I feel like...
I'm not a checklist person.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying, like...
Anybody.
You, the editorial. You, the reader. Like, you have these things that you're looking for in a person. And normally, like, when you meet somebody organically, you already go like, oh, I'm interested in these things. We've talked a few times. Like, we have... like some sort of compatibility, and then you start dating and see if you have feelings versus like, and like, I don't know. I feel like that.
Have you ever said anything?
No, God, no. And the thing to me is I go, why would you do that? Like, I would never like put the best possible looking picture of me that I know I don't look like, so that then a person shows up and is disappointed. I would much rather go, hey, this is me. I know people that don't put I'm a comic, like they don't put comedy and all that stuff on their dating apps because they go, oh, most women won't date a comic. And I go, yeah, but that's what I do. I don't want to trick somebody into thinking I'm still a teacher. And they go, oh, just kidding. This is who I am.
Just kidding, I'm not a teacher anymore.
Yeah, but I wasn't even like, it wasn't even like, oh, you're gross. It was just like, that's, you sold me a different product.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
And then there's also the argument that guys say, like, oh, if girls are wearing too much makeup or they're doing blah, 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 then it's wearing Spanx or some bullshit. They're like, selling me a different product. Yeah. It's like, that's different, though. But, I mean, but I don't ever try that hard on a first date. Like, like, I will, the thing is, I can dress it up. I can get to that point. It's just got to be, like, a good occasion. Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm going to go... Like, if somebody wanted to take me to see Hamilton, I will dress the fuck up. I will bring my fucking A game to that. you know? Yeah. By the way, I really want to go see Hamilton, so I have tickets in March, but they're like nosebleed. Like, it took me 3 hours to get them, and I'm like, I'm trying to do the lottery to win it. I assume you probably like musicals since you did choir.
Big fan.
Did you ever act, or were you ever in musicals?
Yeah, no, all through high school. I actually worked for the guy that wrote Avenue Q when I was in New York.
Oh, weird job. Well, he also helped write Book of Mormon.
Other one. No, not Robbie Lopez. Yeah, Jeff Marks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forgot there was...
I was working for Jeff Marks when Trey and Matt approached them and were like, we have this idea. It's like, it's about the Book of Mormon. And they're like, oh, so it's like with Mormons? They're like, no, we want to do the Book of Mormon. And they were like, this is the most brilliant idea I've ever heard. So,
I really respect those guys. Yeah. They've got some really good ideas. I heard a piece of script advice that I've been really taking to heart that they came up with, that like from scene to scene, it should be a therefore or but, not an and. Because if it's an and, you're not moving the story forward.
That makes sense.
And that was something that they talk about. I don't know. They're very smart. And I've started rewatching South Park again. I hadn't been watching the last couple seasons, but it's such a smart show, and I like super respect those guys.
Yeah,
Book of Mormon is the funniest musical I've ever seen.
Here's the thing: Book of Mormon is one of the best things you will ever see. It's brilliant.
And I've seen Avenue Q too. But
Avenue Q is hilarious.
I remember discovering that, and like the internet's for porn, and like everyone's a little bit racist. Oh. That's such a good, and I thought it was. I mean, and I saw like more of a local version of it. It was done. Oh, that theater that's on Southport, right by the Music Box.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of the theater name, but they put it on like a year and a half ago, and my parents were in town, so I was like, oh, let's go see this. You'd like this. Because I'd wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Like,
it's fantastic.
the fact that Gary Coleman.
They tried to open in London for Avenue Q, and like they got paid a ton of money and brought it out there, and they started doing reviews, and they found out that British audiences don't know who Gary Coleman is.
And they don't get it.
And they had to completely rewrite the character.
Oh,
because they turned it into a character named Job, like the biblical Job, where bad things happened to him, and the play did not work in London, and that was a big part of it.
Weird.
It was just so weird to think about that. You're like, oh yeah, I guess that was an American actor, and we just assume everybody on Earth knows.
Well, that's the thing with America is we just assume like we're the center of the world and everyone's paying attention to us.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, so I knew about Book of Mormon 3 years before it came out. Like I knew it was in the works, and
that's so cool.
It's so good.
Well, I remember seeing a documentary that followed Avenue Q, their process. Mm-hmm. It like followed 4 musicals that year, and it followed all.
Wicked.
It was that Wicked. Was it Caroline or Change? Maybe. It was like
that sounds right.
Yeah,
yeah.
That Wicked, Caroline or Change, and then another one. Yeah. I can't remember.
That year,
not Kinky Boots.
That was before Kinky Boots.
It was before, but it was like there was 4 musicals, and it did like a documentary style of all 4, all the way to the point where the Tonys happened. And Avenue Q is the big surprise because they had the lowest.
World.
Yes, because they had the smallest budget and all that.
People were pissed. Like people were pissed that Wicked didn't win it.
Wicked was really great.
It's fantastic.
I like it, but. I mean, Avenue Q was something you'd never seen before. Yeah. We were like...
a lot of people were like, oh, you were like a choir nerd? I'm like, yeah, no, for serious. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm really into music and musical theater. I know way more than most straight white guys do. I love it.
Yeah.
And then, like, we get into conversations and they're like, oh, wow, you were serious. And I go, yeah, yes, I was very into it.
I think it's good to be into that.
Yeah.
Well, as we're starting to wind down a little bit, I always ask my guests near the end of the podcast. We talked about dreams like briefly, but what are your like dreams for your future, your goals and whatnot?
I don't know. I would like to continue making people laugh. Whether it's acting, just doing stand up, writing. Right now, honestly, I don't have future goals. I'm in a very say yes to everything place, which has been very fun.
You're a yes man right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's how I got a couple of like internet videos, and I got to do stuff on a TV show. A buddy of mine that I'd met on the road was producing a show called Comic Edge, and it was on Aspire, which is an African American culture and heritage channel. And he called me and goes, "Hey Nate, I'm doing this show, and we've got stand up." And we realized that we don't have any white people. And I went, I'm great at that. What do you mean?
You're like, I'll be the token white person for this comedy show.
Absolutely. And he goes, yeah, we just, we each episode has a theme, whether it's, sports or addiction or education. So you just tell us which of those you have jokes on. And we just don't have any white people to, like, kind of be a balance. And I went, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
And then, like, a week later, he's like, we're also doing this sketch. Where like some of the guys on the troupe, they're college basketball players and they're broke and they're scared and they're starving, and I'm the asshole coach that's like eating a sandwich counting money, and they're like, yeah, exactly. I went, yes, let's go, let's do it.
That's great.
I could be a basketball coach. I'm 5'7". And so that's kind of what I did a cruise ship last year because a guy called. He was like, you want to do it? I went, yeah, why not?
That's great.
So, yeah, I'm just kind of riding the wave.
That's awesome, man. So just continuing with that.
Yeah.
That's good goals.
It'll go somewhere fun.
Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Nate Weatherup. You can catch Nate at the Hollywood Improv on November 10th and Haha Cafe in North Hollywood on November 16th, and follow him on Twitter at Nate Weatherup. This podcast is part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. This podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can view more on sleepingwithsarah.com, and please follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.